Back, everybody, as we continue on this outstanding event here today. It's so great to be here, and I can't say this enough. The weather, how much do we luck out with the weather, guys?
Trying to hurry up and get out of here so we can go play outside.
Exactly, enjoy some of it. So we're going to keep the show rolling, and what can I say about these guys, man? Terry and Roy
Nothing
from
good.
Nashville Fit Magazine.
I'm concerned with
it's funny, we're gonna talk about relationships, and if you know these guys, you know that these guys are all about relationships. And the minute you meet these guys, you feel their energy, you feel their positivity, and you understand, and you just want to be a part of it. You want to just. When I met these guys, I was like, "Let me in, let me do stuff for you." And I'm really excited. We're working on some stuff with the radio station, and we've had some great interactions on a business and personal side. And we had a great time at the Nashville Fit Expo. With Jay Cutler doing some great stuff. So this is going to be really cool. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about how that affects, your business in terms of, how you sell yourself and sell your business. And this is going to be a kind of an interactive, cool podcast. And we're going to get all the folks involved here today, and we're going to have a great time. So Terry, Roy, thank you first of all, thank you for having me be a part of this.
100%. Yeah.
It's been such a pleasure to get to know you guys, and I know we're in the early process of that, in terms of business and friendship. But you guys epitomize what this lifestyle is all about, right? Working hard, relentless pursuit, just believing, and getting people involved and having a good time doing it. So, Terry and Roy from Nashville Fit Magazine, everybody.
Thank you. Let's give John a hand. How about that?
That's true. Yeah, John. He'll be available for autographs at the end.
Yes.
So we're gonna do something a little bit different. This was Roy's idea 2 days ago.
No, it was yesterday.
So we're gonna do a ground up podcast. This will be our live podcast. So we want it to be interactive, and we say that just grab that microphone if you have a question at any moment. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm looking at you because
I'm
leaning hard on you today.
Flying by the seat of our pants like normal.
We joke that the Ground Up podcast is the most unprofessional podcast around.
That is true.
Wherever Lauren is, that's going to make it to our branding. So we like to have a good time. We like to keep it loose. So if you don't know much about us two, we are unlikely business partners. I found the Music City Fit Expo, and I went to Roy, and I was like, "Hey, you want to do this thing with me?" And he said yes, which was maybe one of the biggest mistakes of your life.
No, that's
but we've worked. We didn't know each other very well, and we've worked over time to build a relationship with loyalty, trust, a little bit of friction every once in a while, but all for the sake of growth. So that is a little bit of an overview. We ended up acquiring Nashville Fit Magazine shortly thereafter. Roy's been in the business of T-shirts and apparel for 11 years now?
11 years. Yep.
And I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years. So yes, we're both very old. So that being said, the mission for us behind Nashville Fit Magazine and Music City Fit Expo has always been collaborative. I like to coin the term collaboration over competition. It is greater than competition. You want to compete? Great. There's a place for that. For us, it's about collaboration. All right. Everybody helping everybody, right? We get a lot further. What would it look like if the whole city was known, right, for its health and fitness efforts, as opposed to everybody kind of going to the neighborhood and maybe stealing clients here or there from one another, and you kind of fight each other with better offers. What does it look like if we're actually engaging the community more and more and more and more? And we can do that when we're one unified voice, right? Yeah.
You're supposed to say right. Thank you.
Blake Harris, everybody.
There's one person in the crowd.
So Roy, on that note, there has been. It's not all. We say that's a sunny day picture that we're painting of collaboration. It doesn't always end in business for us. I've actually had a few clients be like, "I don't want any part of that. I'm here to compete." So that's cool. We'll still be your friend. We'll be here when you're worn out from trying to put someone, maybe put someone out of business, as it were. So it doesn't always fit everybody. So Roy's got a little story he's going to share.
Yeah, story time with Uncle Roy.
Yeah. So, Roy, gather around, children.
Yes.
Is there pictures?
Fourscore and no, just kidding. So one of the stories I was gonna share today is about collaboration and how it can actually work. Because a lot of times you all probably get hit up on your social media. Hey, I would love to collaborate with you. You do your part. They do a shit job. And, then you're kind of like, man, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Right.
So I was thinking about when we, flying by the seat of our pants, we're going to do this live podcast. I have this story I've never shared on a podcast. So 2017, most of y'all weren't alive then, but back in 2017, our business was about 3 years old. And the CrossFit Games was bringing regionals to Nashville for the first time. This was a huge deal. We had always wanted to go and have a booth at the CrossFit Games or a CrossFit regional event, but for a small business that did a bootstrap startup with zero cash, that wasn't going to happen. It was never going to be in the cards. They announced they were coming to Nashville, and we're like, well, we have to. We have no choice, but it's our backyard. We have to make it work. So we're spending all this time trying to figure out, how to come up with, I think the booth cost was $4,500, which could put us out of business. Then B, you have to have enough stuff to sell, which you buy on a 30-day in arrears. Yeah. So that could also put you out of business. So we're looking at these two things and then knowing that all the big dogs are going to be there, right? So we're like, screw it. We're going to have to do it anyway. So we start planning. And one of the things I thought of was there was a meal prep, and they're still here, I say was, a meal prep company here in Nashville called Paleo Works. So I reached out to Paleo Works and I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea. It'll sell some meals for you, hopefully, and it'll generate people coming to our booth at CrossFit Regionals. So they do these paleo meals, and it's kind of like on a subscription base. You pick up your meals, right? Like 5-6 meals a week or whatever. And I said, can you do a healthy gumbo? And they're like, absolutely, we can put that together. I said, can we call it Voodoo Gumbo? And they're like, yes. And I said, on every one you sell, can I put a sticker that's 30 or 25% off or 30% off? I can't remember which we did. And they're like, absolutely. And I said, the trick is the only way to get that is they have to redeem it at CrossFit Regionals at our booth. It's the only way to redeem the coupon because we didn't do sales. So they're like, yeah, absolutely. So I printed 300 stickers, and I was like, there's no way they'll run through these. They sold out of gumbo twice. So we're like, oh, shit. Okay, now what do we do? So they ran through all these stickers. Now, we're sitting next to Live Soar, Born Primitive, I can't even, Bear Complex, all these big companies that have capital infused in them that are just, they're like, that's where we want to get to. And here we are in this little 10 by 10 booth, crammed in there. It's me, my wife, Jeremy, my business partner, and we're just like hoping, like, man, I hope we just make enough money to break even. So they had told me the good news that they had been, selling through all this gumbo, literally sold every one, so 300 gumbos. So I'm like, boy, if we can just get 10% of those to show up. Regional starts, and, people are coming in and going out. And then I start to notice, because I'm in the back of the booth pulling stuff for people, and we were busy, but there was a line. And I was like, where is that line? And Jeremy goes, it's our line. So we had this huge line that went down in front of everybody's booths to buy our stuff.
That's crazy.
So Born Primitive, who some of y'all may be familiar with, Bear is the owner of it. Him and his ex-wife, co-owners. And he comes around to meet me. And he's standing in front of our booth, like staring at us. So I just walk up to him. I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? You know, introduce myself. He's like, dude, how'd y'all get this line? I was like, I don't know, man. I'm not going to tell him the secret. So Live Sore is like 2 down from us, and he is mean mugging me this whole time, just like staring at us. And every time we'd come out, he'd be just like, because they weren't busy. Like the line was going right past their booth. And this went on for 3 days. We sold $44,000. And I was worried about going out of business.
Good grief.
Yeah. So
New story to me too, by the way.
yeah. So I've never told that story. It gives me chill bumps when I hadn't even thought about this story in years. But it's just one of those things, like, if the collaborations are equal,
Right.
you're both really trying to help each other, it's a huge win-win. Paleo Works could not have been more happy that they sold an extra 300 meals in a week. I mean, for them, that's big, right? And then for us, that was a game changer. That launched us for what was to come, you know,
Yeah,
there on out.
And for you at that time, I know you're flashing back, and that's a great idea, out of the box thinking. But I'm sure you were full of nerves doing this, right? Like you had no idea what to expect.
Well, I remember. So we're setting up, and it was at the Music City Center, and I hadn't told my business partner Jeremy all the financial details. Terrible business partner. So we're setting up. He's like the overly excited guy, and I'm like, hey, just to let you know, if this goes south, we're out of business. Yeah. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, it's going to be a rough month? I was like, no, we're done. Like,
We bet the farm.
we've bet the farm on this. This has to hit. Or we just got a bunch of shirts that we can't do anything with.
Yeah.
So, but there was like little things we did inside there. Like, it was a 3-day event, so we had 3-day releases. So you had to come back to the booth each day, because like one day was, we released a Dave Castro shirt. One day we released something else. One day we released a Nashville themed thing. So it was, it gave people a reason to keep coming back.
Yeah, so I love this story for a whole lot of reasons. It helps illustrate this point, right? If you're collaborating, you think about your circle, and maybe you're sitting here listening to this story right now, and you're like, I know somebody. Who's in your circle, in your city or your zip code, like close by, that it's worth building that relationship with. Like you'd worked with Paleo Works for quite a while. You've known them for
I've known them for
years
years,
before
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Right. This translates into. This is how we do it with marketing with National Fit Magazine. This translates into sales for us, because I can't help you if I don't know you,
Yeah.
right? So if I can get to know you and build that relationship, I can market for you in a unique way. You're giving me the option to over deliver, right? And I want to nurture that relationship whether we're doing business or not. At the end of the day, I used to tell my trainers this years ago, back when I was in the gym owning business, if they come to you and they end up not liking your price in your initial consultation, but they leave your friend, where do you think they're going to come back to when they have a bad experience somewhere else?
Absolutely.
Right? The price isn't a problem at that point. They want a good experience, and they're subscribing to that character, that loyalty, that friendship that you built. So how can you do that in an effective way in a very short amount of time, right? And
Yeah.
you've known I don't know why his name slipped in my mind. Paleo Works.
As soon as you did.
Brian,
Brian
thank
and
you.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brian and Lisa. Thank you.
I'm on stage, Danny. I get nervous.
Terry got the sweat.
Appreciate you. Oh man. So yeah, what does that look like in your space? And I think what you say is very, Laura, what you said there is very impactful and important. What does it look like for both of you to win in that moment? Right? That means that one of you may have to lay down. One of you may have to practice a little humility, because it might not be an even playing field, right? So what does that look like in your circles? I want to actually hear from you in that. So as you're thinking about that collaborate, and maybe you all have a story in a way that you've collaborated. I would love to hear if you have that have a story or have a question about it. But so be ready, because I'm going to call on you in a second. What are some ways that we're collaborating now? You think about the expo, you think about the National Fit Magazine, you think about Barbell Voodoo. What are some of those collaborative efforts that you've seen like really pay off?
Why do you put me on the spot every time?
Well, you put me on the spot with a live podcast, so here we are. We're even now.
Yeah, we're even. No, I mean, I think the expo is so different just because it's big.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of collaboration that goes into the stages, the events. You know, we're bringing them in, we're promoting their business, they're bringing their people to our event. I think that's a win-win for both. Danny would know. So I think things like that on that scale is huge, because a lot of times, you know, I don't know everybody's audience or gym numbers or whatever, but if you're at an event like that and we bring 4,003 people through that you have a chance to meet percentage of them, how do you not win? Right?
Yeah.
It's being, you know, front of mind brand awareness. And on the flip side, we may not have gotten to their people, their community, but they bring them to us. They experience that, which experiences all the other brands inside. And, you know, it's kind of a...
Yeah, and that's the reason why you hear us. Now, I didn't get to do this as much this year, but normally I walk around every expo and I make sure I get to talk to every one of you. Roy had me too busy this time. Too many celebrities.
It's busy. He's busy.
I had to walk John around.
I think Gunner snuck in, didn't he?
Yeah, Gunner snuck in. He always finds my weak point in security.
Climbed the fence and scaled the roof. I was like, how'd this go?
That's the reason why we're always asking you how it's going, even retrospectively. We want your relationship matters to us. So we can't improve what we're doing without that feedback from our friends, right? Joe, for instance, I was on your podcast leading up to the expo, and I said, come, I'll comp you a ticket, walk around and meet everybody, right? Yeah, and you did. I was proud of you. You worked that crowd.
Yeah.
That's why we're always polling you. That's why we're always asking those questions. The better, it's more helpful for us to be able to shape what we're doing in the future. For the magazine, that actually helps us shape our content that you consume. So we want it to be beneficial for the community, but we also want it to try to be beneficial for the business owners. Obviously, that's why we're here today. So good work, all y'all, for coming. Appreciate you. I do want to leave some time for some questions or comments or stories. And if you do have something, grab that microphone. But I would love to hear how you've collaborated in the past. I'm looking at Danny. Danny, break that ice. So Danny, break that ice.
You want to go over there?
Yeah, grab that microphone. I should have somebody working that microphone.
Next time.
Next time.
I mean, can I bring it back?
Yeah, you can
You can do whatever you want.
All right, great. Yeah, so I always go back to when I first started my business in 2017. Roy, I don't even know if you remember how it came to fruition, but I reached out to everyone in the community and was like, hey, I just started my business, guns a-blazing. I want to put this fitness festival together. I'm looking for sponsors. Will you come out? And I remember, I don't know if you, do you remember the conversation?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And anyway, but it was in Nashville Fit before you guys had taken over.
Right.
I ended up coming and sponsoring it as well. And it was that moment of wow, a full sense of community. Because before I started my business, that's what I was looking for. And because I literally wanted people to come out that were other trainers, other group fitness instructors to represent their brand. So even when my people came or anybody else came, they could find their fit, right, within the community. And so I just remember reaching out to you and you being so kind and coming there and had the booty shorts, and then you sponsored me for years with booty shorts. I mean, I flipped that tire in those booty shorts. I did all the things, and so I feel like that was such a mutual collaboration.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now I can call you up, and when you have so much time on your hands, and you still take time to listen to me and be like, hey, I just cannot wrap my mind around this or that, or do you like this idea, and just have that feedback and support, because I think a lot of us are very alone in the entrepreneurial, mindset and in this game, and we're you get so tunnel vision when it's literally as simple as oh, well, have you thought about doing it this way? And so that's why I always want to continue to learn. I listen to everyone's podcast, even though I have my own podcast. I'm not oh, I can only hear mine, right? And I have been on Joe's and have, had you guys on as well and stuff like that. And so, because I believe in all the storytelling and all the things that you've gone through, like, let's learn from it and let's find, how we can all be better together. And so I really love everything that you guys have been doing, and you've always been so supportive of my mission.
Yeah.
And answering my questions about how you love your body.
Yes.
And so I think that, a lot of us can resonate with that and learn from it, you know?
Well, being an entrepreneur is the most lonely journey there is, because we've all got friends, right? And you try to talk to them and they have no clue what you're talking about.
Right.
They're like, why don't you just go work a 9 to 5? That's way easier. I literally had that conversation about a year ago with a buddy of mine.
I had someone say, why don't you drive a dump truck? I'm like,
what the hell? Where'd that come from?
I have no idea. I'm like zooming back. I'm like, out of everything that you know that I know, that's what you think I should do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought we were friends.
It is very lonely. And to have people that you can reach out to, it's somebody on the outside looking in, and it's as simple. And I do it, it's, if you can have, every coach should have a coach, period. And every business owner should have a coach, a mentor, somebody you can lean into that may have, they've already done it, or just a different perspective of, hey, I'm struggling trying to figure this out. And it's as simple as somebody giving you a tweak.
Right.
And you're like, now the light bulb's on.
Well, it's laying down that ego also.
Sure.
Right? Because
Yeah.
It's a very big part.
And being like, oh no, I can figure it out, or you're responsible for people, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it's only it only bears you lower, right? So you can't raise up when you're totally surrounded in that cloud. So it's something that it has been awesome. Like, again, Joe, we'll talk voice memo, because that's all we got time for. And just in between, stuff and whatever.
In between messages.
Yeah, but it works,
Yeah.
because again, we both understand differently than partner stuff.
Yeah, you get it. Well, I got something to say too, because
go ahead.
A lot of this. Should I get in the frame? Do you wanna,
I love. Can you tell who our podcasters are in the room?
But a lot of this I'm like connecting with, because it's taken me a long time to actually get it right. I started my brand, had some crazy seasons I've shared with y'all. After that, got a building because I was like, I need to put my back against the wall. And then I've spent so much time up until just recently when I had to go to the hospital for blood pressure, like blurry vision, all this stuff. I'm like, dang, man. And I got the graft and all. But anyways, I started to reflect on this event, and I was listening to you talk, and you invited me to the expo, and I went. And I'm not gonna lie, like when it comes to things like that, I'm actually pretty introverted. Like I'm good at talking to people, but like getting around people, especially new, I'm just like, checking my pulse. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna fall out,
You mean both, man.
But it's something I want to improve upon. And that being said, but even networking is that first step to collaboration, because
Sure.
100%.
He's invited me to countless things since first being on the podcast, and I'm like, man, I gotta constantly work in the business. But that's the thing I've been doing for the past couple of years. I've got my building, so I've been working in those four walls constantly without actually going out and making the connections and meeting new people
outside. Yep.
in order to be able to collaborate. And I had my first taste of that when we did the Key Lime Pie Festival at my space and raised money for those guys, and I got to connect with more of the local businesses. So that being said, not much experience in collaboration, because I've just been like nose to the grindstone. So this is a new venture for me, and I'm pretty excited. So that being said, thanks for having me here.
I'm excited to see you walk in the door.
Yeah, I'm excited to share more experience.
I wore him down. He's making it sound like I wore him down.
There you go.
Coming? Are you coming?
Yeah, he does.
It worked.
But I'm glad for it too. I'm grateful for that. So thanks, man.
Yeah, man. I love hearing it. Blake's got something. I seriously, this is my podcaster session.
Yeah.
At that point, I figured I had to go next.
Yeah,
I see them turning on their own recording devices.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's smart. You're gonna want this content.
Before I start talking, no, I mean, collaboration is the only reason I'm even in this room right now.
Yeah.
People obviously know me for what I do with Strongman, but it took me so long to build up that. I didn't have a space then. If you count name changes of gyms and my own space now, this is the 8th gym that I've done Strongman stuff out of. and like we started with a little group. Danny was there kind of in the beginning, very beginning. But I was having to like negotiate with gyms to be like, hey, I'm trying to grow this group. Me, her, and Matt, we were trainers, so only time we could have to work out together was Sundays, which actually worked out for me because that's a empty gym day for most people. So I could go to these gyms and be like, hey, here's the 50-50. I can give you a percentage of what I'm making here, but like we're going to be in your gym. I'm going to store some equipment there. And some places were really cool with it and let me kind of like make myself at home. And some people were
Not
not as welcoming and not as cool on their end, which made growth really difficult, which ended up having to find a different space to where we are now. But I mean, that's been 6 years, 8 different gyms. But when I decided to purchase the gym that I have now, the only reason it was possible was because of building that community that was basically, I had a line waiting for me to make strongman memberships available so they could do it more than just on Sunday and kind of cultivate that community. And without being able to have people like legitimize what I brought to the table on the collaboration was the only reason I can even be in the same room with y'all. So
That's awesome, dude.
I love to hear it. I've watched you progress probably the most closely, and
been a long time since I was dressed up in rat ears and
right around. One of my favorite
Blake's
things.
got his shirt off again, guys.
One of my favorite things about Blake is he'll find you in any crowd, in any place, and he'll run over and just give you a big old hug. So, I appreciate watching your journey, and thank you for being here too. We're gonna wrap it up because I'm trying to get us back on time. Couple key points, and I want you to chime in here. One is collaboration does, first of all, to recap, collaboration does matter when it comes to just being humble. Find a way to find a connection point with somebody that way you can work with them. And then I'd also say before, don't wait till you have a fire before you buy a fire extinguisher.
God, that's so true.
Yeah, you need a coach. Get a coach. Like you guys are coaches. A lot of you are, right? Which top down, right? Who's your guy? Who's your mentor? Who's in your space, right? And it doesn't always look like, Roy's my coach. I called him yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I need a mental health check-in.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's cliche, but the reason I'm in partnerships, the reason he's got a partner for Barbell Voodoo is because we want to go far. Right? We don't want to go quick. We want to go far. And that's hard for me because I'm trying to be patient. So sometimes Ben knows what I'm talking about. So Roy's my reins, right? When I need it. So what does that look like for you? And I think networking is key. I think finding coaches is a key. Roy and I might know a few coaches.
I know a couple coaches.
Would you want to leave the people with anything?
I have another story.
Oh,
I just thought of.
Let's go.
So this is a collaboration with the police department
Oh, dang.
in Illinois. I'll tell this. It's a quick story.
My collaboration with the police department was different than.
Yeah, well, yeah. Most of them are. This one just worked out.
sounds like you guys Tom coach.
So
a plea deal. No.
we were going to an event. We used to have a big black Barbell Voodoo van. Now we have trailers, but back in the day we had this van, and I drove it, and it had a limiter on it. You could only go 80 mile an hour, and I would always test the limit. So it was either you're stopped or 80 mile an hour. There was no in between. We also blew the engine up in this van, of course. But anyway, so we're in Illinois, and I forgot the name of the city, but it's just past Metropolis. And we got there the night before. We had worked late at the day job, got there the night before. The next morning, we put the address in to go to where the event was, and I am flying. I mean, there's cornfields on both sides of this road, and I'm going 80 mile an hour. We've been going like 20 minutes. I'm like, where in the hell is this event? Here comes a county officer going the opposite way, and I was like, oh, like you feel that sinking feeling?
Oh, that got you.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming for you.
he spins that thing around like the Dukes of Hazzard with the lights on, and I just went ahead and pulled into this driveway, and he pulls in right behind me and jumps out, and boy, he was just
ready.
He was fired up. He comes up there and he goes, "Where are you boys going so fast?" I was like, "Sir, you're right. I shouldn't have been speeding." He's like, "Do you have any idea how fast you're going?" I was like, "Well, it was 80 because it stops at 80." He kind of chuckled for a second. He's like, "Well, he was going 76." I was like, "Well, so it does work." When you put it all together. So, and he said, "Let me see your license." I gave him my license and my carry permit. And he goes, he goes, "Are you packing?" I was like, "No, sir, I'm not. I don't have it with me today." And he goes back and he runs my license or whatever, and he's back there like 10 minutes. He comes back up there, and he goes, where'd you say you were going? And I told him, he's like, "Oh, son, you're going the wrong way." He's like, "That's north such and such street. You're headed toward south such and such street." He's like, "You're like 30 minutes in the wrong direction." And we were building a good rapport during this. And I was like, "You wouldn't want to give me a police escort because I'm running late." And he just chuckled. He goes, "No, I can't." And he points at his body cam. And then he goes, "I appreciate you carrying y'all's permit." He said, "I wish you'd have had your gun with you." And that's kind of a weird thing for a cop to say. And he says, "You know, out here in the country like this, if we get in trouble, guys like you can help us. You can go, 'Pow, motherfucker,' and shoot somebody." I'm like, "Oh my God, this come out of this cop's mouth." So I'm like, "Whatever." And he goes, "I'm not going to give you a ticket. Here's your license, whatever." I'm like, I'm looking at Jeremy. Jeremy's sitting on the passenger side like, "Did this just happen?" I'm like, "I guess so." He backs out. Now he's headed back toward town. I back out, and he sticks his arm out the window and does this, hits the lights, and takes off. I'm like, "Are you shitting me?" He only went 80 because he knew the van only went to 80. So we're running 80 for 30 minutes. He drove us right into the fairgrounds. He pulls up. I pull right up beside him. We roll the windows down. He goes, "You boys have a good day."
Oh my gosh.
Like, these stories happened every week for 6 years. But anyway, so that's another story time with Roy, Uncle Roy. Well, it didn't say free candy on it, so yeah.
I don't have anything to add to that. I think that
that's right. Drop the mic.
I think we're done, John. You can take over.